So, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman acknowledged to employees in an internal memo last month that Google's recent AI progress could create temporary economic headwinds.
Google released Gemini 3. It's pretty great. They regained the lead on most of the benchmarks.
We can see that Google Gemini is catching up quarter by quarter, month by month.
I think the search franchise is going to grow and that Google is not going to lose to ChatGPT. And I think the big loser in all this is going to be OpenAI.
Pichai acknowledged that while AI investment growth is at an extraordinary moment, the industry can overshoot. Google CEO, if an AI bubble pops, no one is getting out clean. Hi everyone, JJ here. Welcome back to the Johnston Lounge. Yes, that's me if you don't know. Well, today we've got Google's Gemini AI. A new version is crushing OpenAI's ChatGPT in performance. Now I'm going to react to this video from the All In podcast, this clip about this where they're talking about it. But first, let's get into some headlines about it. Here we go. How Google finally leapfrogged rivals with new Gemini rollout. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Top scoring models debut shakes up AI chatbot race. I think we've hit on something. And that is from Google CEO Sundar Pichai. The quick summary of this, and we'll move on. Google's Gemini 3 model surpassed competitors in industry benchmark tests, demonstrating advanced capabilities in AI. Gemini 3's launch presents a challenge to OpenAI and Anthropic, outperforming them in over a dozen intelligence categories. Google's market value reached $3.6 trillion, exceeding Microsoft's for the first time in 7 years. We'll talk a little bit about the AI bubble that I've been talking about recently. But I have to say, I've been using Google's Gemini, the new version. I use the Pro version. I use it for work. It is really excellent. I can say that myself. And this article says a little bit more. OpenAI's Sam Altman mulls temporary economic headwinds from Google's AI progress. We will get more into this, what Sam Altman's been saying. He's clearly worried. I did the video about how he crashed out in an interview a couple of weeks ago when he was asked about OpenAI's finances. Of course, Google's finances, Alphabet's finances are a lot better. So this race, Google's got really deep pockets as far as that race is concerned, if it comes down to that. So OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman acknowledged to employees in an internal memo last month that Google's recent AI progress could create temporary economic headwinds, in quotes, for his company, the information reported. So I think he's clearly worried. He's saying temporary, but he would say that, right? The memo expected that Alphabet units launch of its Gemini 3 model and suggested OpenAI's once dominant technological lead is narrowing. So they talk about this on the All In pod. We'll get to that in a moment. This is mainly due to the crucial pre-training phase of AI model development where OpenAI has faced challenges. OpenAI did not immediately comment. But earlier this week, this was a while ago, this article, a few days ago, Google started rolling out Gemini 3. And as I said, I have been using it daily. I found it to be definitely a step up in terms of actually helping with actual work. It really does. The new AI model drew praise from Wall Street analysts and others in the tech space, including Altman. Google also enhanced its recently released AI-powered image generator Nano Banana and introduced Nano Banana Pro built on Gemini 3 Pro, which, as I said, I am using. The competitive pressure highlights a financial disparity between the companies. Oh, yes. I mean, OpenAI is talking about investing $1 trillion, but the revenue that they're getting, I mean, Sam Altman says it's going up steeply, but it really is really low compared to that trillion. And if Google wanted to invest heaps of money in AI, which they are, As I said, they've got deep pockets because they're getting so much revenue. It's one of the best business models that's ever existed. Their search business. OpenAI forecasts a cash burn of over 100 billion in coming years, while the more profitable Google has more resources to sustain a costly AI race. However, in spite of these challenges, Altman assured staff that OpenAI, which is partially backed by Microsoft, yes, so it's basically Microsoft versus Google, and if OpenAI went under, if it was looking like it was going bankrupt, would Microsoft step in, or say there was an AI bubble that went bust and they got into financial trouble? Would Microsoft step in and buy it for pennies on the dollar at a depressed valuation whenever that happens? And then it would be Google versus Microsoft again, right? Okay, we'll look at this article later. Google CEO, if an AI bubble pops, no one is getting out clean. We'll have a look at that after this all in pod clip, which I do want to get to. We'll see what the guys are saying and I'll react to it. Let's go.
Google released Gemini 3. It's pretty great. They regained the lead on most of the benchmarks. Polymarket now has Google at 89% to finish the year as the top LLM.
Funny how we look at Polymarket these days to see how things are doing. Sometimes the market's right, depending on what it is, but it's amazing how much people quote Polymarket now.
And all the speculation that Google was going to have their search franchise absolutely slaughtered by ChatGPT has turned out to not be true, at least not this year.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation about that, how Google search was going to be destroyed by OpenAI because people won't be searching on Google very much. They'll be using the questions or the answers that you get from AI. But I must say that I've been doing that with Gemini. I don't use search very much, but it incorporates search into it. You can just ask questions and it will go to Google search if it needs to. It's like that. Bring back anything you need, even videos.
With their searches going up, revenue going up. But the big story is speculation around Gemini 3 being trained only on Google's TPUs, not Nvidia's GPUs. Your thoughts, Jamal?
I think TPU is an incredible product. I'm biased, but I think it's an incredible architecture. This latest spin is very profound. I think what's incredible about Google is, I don't know if you saw the stats, but they went from like 8% share to like 16% share of the entire chat market.
Yeah, that's an incredible chart there. If you're just listening to this, we've got a bar chart where Google is gaining on ChatGPT. I mean, they really had 100% market share to begin with, being the first out. And so they've got everything to lose here. We can see that Google Gemini is catching up quarter by quarter, month by month, really. So it has been gaining ground, and OpenAI still the market leader by far. First mover advantage, but Google is, chasing them for sure. I mean, there has been speculation about eating into Google's search because it's such an amazing business. And if they start AI and people use that instead, are they going to lose their own search business because of it? Or are they going to work out how to monetize it? Just as they did with the search engine. I remember all that. It really didn't have a monetization model for quite a while. It was just search, really good search, and then they put the ad business together with it, and it turned out to be really great. So can they do that with AI as well? That's the question. Can any of these businesses do it like that?
As of like this last month, that's an incredible stat. On the enterprise side, Anthropic is just absolutely crushing. So what are we seeing? We're seeing a nascent market get created. We saw an allocation of traffic that basically favored one company over everyone. And now we're starting to see a sorting function and a classifier in all of these different markets. It's like breaking apart, right? There'll be winners in science. There'll be winners in enterprise level coding. There's going to be winners on the chat side. And where are the advantages going to be? On the enterprise side, it's going to be model quality. Anthropic's is excellent.
Okay, so this all remains to be seen what he's saying here, whether that will happen. and we have different companies, different models for different things. And we could say that Google could do all of those things, being a big company and working out how to have different models. Meta could do that. Other companies could do that. He's mentioned Anthropic in there, mentioned OpenAI. Will they all survive if there's a massive AI bubble that keeps on going and Nvidia earnings were really, soothed the market, although it kept going down after that. But the market is unpredictable. But what do you think about this, what Chamath's saying here? Do you think that there'll be different models, different companies for different things that specialize? It's a long road, a long way to go, and it's such early days. If you looked at the search market to begin with, there were all kinds of search engines. We had Yahoo, we had Alta Vista, and then Google came along. There were others too. Ask Jeeves was another one, and they all went away. And they were all operating like portals. There was like a busy portal, and Google just came out with that one search field, search quick, and it really killed everything else. So there's a lot to go in this. We just don't know, and everybody's speculating and guessing at this point, but also based on what's actually happening.
On the chat side, it's probably going to pivot around your existing inherent distribution.
Which is operating system, which is your browser, which is your phone, which is Apple and Google and Microsoft.
Yeah, the only thing that I would push back on what you said, though, is that I agree that Google has done an absolutely incredible job in defending search.
Yeah.
But I think what this creates is the setup where now they can cannibalize themselves versus having their market cannibalized for them. That's still going to be a very tough decision for Google to make.
Okay, so that was already the case. That was what people were talking about. If Google came through with a great AI model, that it would cannibalize their own search business, taking that ad revenue away if people move over to AI. But what they're doing is they're actually integrating it in one and the same thing. Even like if you search on Google, you'll get some AI results there. That's the way it's going at the moment. So it remains to be seen. I'm sure they're thinking about it, trying different things to not lose that revenue. The subscription revenue, I pay for subscription. It's a bundle. It's not just AI. It's other Google products as well. That's pretty much why I have it as part of a package, a bundle.
I'm going to take the other side of it. I think what's going to happen is the AI gains in advertising targeting and the number of searches is going to go up. So while the revenue per search might go down, the number of searches goes up and then the targeting goes up. So I'm going to take the other side of it. I think the search franchise is going to grow and that Google is not going to lose to ChatGPT. And I think the big loser in all this is going to be OpenAI because they started with 100% of the market and they're only going down and they're facing a Google firing on all cylinders, Anthropic and Grok beating them in the leaderboards pretty consistently. So I think the short in all of this, if you were going to put on the pair trade, is short OpenAI, which I think is overvalued. And it's going to go down. And I think I would be long Google, Grok, and Anthropic.
I don't know about Grok. He is Elon Musk's friend, so maybe he's saying it from that point of view. I mean, it does have some good results, but it's quite niche in terms of who uses X. It's not the town square. He hasn't really grown it. And if it's attached to X, in branding, people associate it with X and Elon Musk, then that may actually hold it back. Whereas Google is Google, and people had ChatGPT right from the beginning. A lot of people started using that, don't even know really that there are other things, and then there are these more specialized tasks which they're well aware of.
I would say that the general workhorse is what we had, but now that everyone's making these investments, and you should expect that the investment dollars in chip design is only going to ramp up, not down.
Massively.
There's going to be differentiated chips for different markets and different applications.
100%.
And that's where there's a risk to Nvidia. The other kind of...
Who do you think has the best chance of challenging Nvidia?
Okay, so in challenging Nvidia, if we talk about the AI bubble in the market, Nvidia can do no wrong, and people are joking about how the whole stock market and the economy is hinging on Nvidia. So they're talking about alternatives. They talked about quite a lot in this podcast, which I'm not showing here. It would be a longer clip. But they did talk about how the different ways that people could use things other than Nvidia, and especially China. He's about to talk about China. Why wouldn't they? They must be working hard to be able to develop their own chips, their own industry, without having to rely on Nvidia. And Taiwan Semiconductor, of course, that's something that is at the very base of this, and it's a cause of tension. That's another thing that could pop the bubble. China could do that on purpose by saber rattling about Taiwan. That's one of the reasons that Warren Buffett bought a lot of stock in Taiwan Semiconductor and then sold a while later, citing a geopolitical risk. He actually said that. He said it was one of the best companies in the world, he thinks. Very good. It's just the geopolitical risk because of that was too big.
So this is where I was going to go. The other black swan that I think is missing in the equation today, and my early prediction for 2026 is Huawei, where I think that there's lithography technology that exists in China that is not publicly discussed, that is going to be deployed in Huawei and all these fabs that they're building in mainland China. And Huawei can create at a very low cost, probably very high volume, and probably in reasonably short order, chips that can start to rival, for certain market applications, chips that might be expensive and long.
Give a timeline for that. 2 years, 3 years out? When we start to see that have an impact on Nvidia?
I think they start to make announcements.
He thinks they might start to make announcements. So Jason was talking about, what's the timelines at 2 or 3 years when they can actually start to produce, start to do this? Because it does take a lot. This is physical things and expertise. It's not easy. That's the reason that there are these really dominant companies, because they have a lot of knowledge going back decades for this. But China could definitely do it, and they could have press releases. That may be all that's needed at this point. Say, we're doing this, it's on the way, because the market is forward thinking, forward looking. So if they think that China is going to possibly get an upper hand, or at least be able to compete, that could favor Chinese companies and not do so well for the perception of companies like Nvidia. But that's just speculation. That's not financial advice. We will just have to see what happens, what plays out. But it is still early days. Okay, let's go back to this article. Google CEO: if an AI bubble pops, no one is getting out clean. So this is related to the previous videos I've done, the ongoing series about the AI bubble watch. And so this is the first time he's actually said anything. Sundar Pichai, CEO of Alphabet, warned of irrationality in the AI market, telling the BBC in an interview, "I think no company is going to be immune, including us." So he realizes that if there's a bust, they won't get out clean, as he says. Jeff Bezos has said this, that he thinks there's an AI infrastructure bubble, but Amazon can deal with it. He didn't say this, but he said there'll be winners and losers, and obviously these big companies with deep pockets should be able to survive it and actually come in and buy up, as I said, things pennies on the dollar perhaps, if they really wanted to later on in a trough, if there's a trough. His comments arrive as scrutiny over the state of the AI market has reached new heights, with Alphabet shares doubling in value over 7 months to reach $3.5 trillion in market capitalization. I mean, all these companies are getting pretty big based on their market cap. Pichai acknowledged that while AI investment growth is at an extraordinary moment, the industry can overshoot in investment cycles, as we're seeing now, which is much the same thing as Jeff Bezos said. He drew comparisons to the late 1990s internet boom, which saw early internet company valuations surge before collapsing in 2000, leading to bankruptcies and job losses. That economic recession wasn't a big one. One of the questions is, if this busts, will it go to the wider economy? Will it be a bigger recession than happened then? We'll have to see what happens. Or will there a recession coming first? Will that trigger this? Or will it just keep going on and on? Will it be this amazing future with no hitches, no booms and busts? He said, we can look back at the internet right now. There was clearly a lot of excess investment, but none of us would question whether the internet was profound. Pichai said, I expect AI to be the same. So I think it's both rational and there are elements of irrationality through a moment like this. Now he's referring to the internet did happen as people were expecting. It just took longer and there was a boom and bust along the way. As I keep saying, I remember back around 2000 Or before that, in the late 1990s, people were talking about streaming video. It's going to be great. There'll be internet, TV, what could be perceived at the time. And there was streaming video starting to happen. I mean, I myself was working on things like that. And the early internet sort of animation and video type of things. I was actually working on that stuff. So it did happen, but there just wasn't the infrastructure there that already to go out to like houses in the suburbs and all that. It just wasn't happening yet. So it did take longer. Will AI be like that too? Will it take a long time to actually get to the promise of what is expected really by the market and a lot of people right now? Over the past year, some analysts and tech industry critics have expressed increasing skepticism about a web of 1.4 trillion in deals surrounding Google competitor OpenAI in particular. And this is what Sam Altman crashed out about in an interview a couple of weeks ago. The company is committed to spending $1.4 trillion on infrastructure over 8 years, which is what he was asked about, while it expects to generate around $13 billion in revenue this year. That's not bad, $13 billion in revenue, considering it's quite a new company, but that $1.4 trillion in infrastructure spending is just a massive gap there. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman told reporters at a private dinner in August that investors are overexcited about AI models and that someone will lose a phenomenal amount of money. What he was really referring to there was his competitors or new startups. And some people have left OpenAI, key players, to start their own AI companies. So he thinks that they will survive, they will come out on top, but these other ones will not. So, what do you think about this? Let me know what you think about this, the AI bubble and Gemini versus ChatGPT. Do you use one of those? Have you tried both? Have you tried the new Gemini? What do you think of ChatGPT? Let me know what you think about AI if you do use it. And if you don't use it, if you hate it and you don't want to use it, let me know about that too. And right now, I'm going to put a related video on screen if you're watching on YouTube, and related videos in the description on Spotify and on YouTube and elsewhere as well, wherever you might see or hear this. I'll also put a subscribe link on screen on YouTube. And thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.